What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to True Nerds with another Elden Ring discussion. So, today's topic we are going to go over: was FromSoftware switching to an open world concept for Elden Ring necessary? And if it was, why? All right, Dan. So you have yet to buy Elden Ring. We're still coursing you.
Still on the edge here. I'm teetering back and forth. I should. I shouldn't. I should. Um, the one thing that I'm really starting to draw me in is how big this world is and how expansive it is. Um, does this is it a good open world game? Because I've played a lot of open world games and it's just emptiness. It's just me riding from point A to point B and then doing the encounter. I could have just done missions if that was the case. Like, what about this open world adds value to the From Software formula?
So I think if you look at the history of the games, they were all very linear. Everyone knows that. You'd go through the area, you'd get to the boss, you'd die to the boss, you'd go grind, go back, die to the boss, rinse and repeat until you finally beat the boss. Which for some people's fun. I enjoy it, but a lot of people don't. And I think so. I think by them switching to an open world concept, it was actually extremely smart. The way they utilize the world is very intelligent. They have multiple different mini bosses, whether that's in a dungeon, free roaming. You have multiple different areas to explore. There's little villages, items everywhere. It gives you as the player, the opportunity to either go straight to the boss because you're confident in your skills and your level and your weapons, fight the boss, kill the boss, continue on, or you can realize you're not ready for this boss fight and you can go explore, and it doesn't feel like grinding. It doesn't feel like you are purposely just going out there to level up to go fight this boss. You were out there leveling because you're exploring, if that makes sense. It's just it's a secondary thing that happens by exploring. You're leveling. And the cool thing with this, the way they built this world, the exploration is one of the best parts. The world truly feels lived in. There's multiple different types of enemies. Every single area has unique enemies to them specific. It's not, rinse and remake a bunch of different enemies with different colors on them, or
I'm not fighting the Fallen every world I go to from Destiny.
Yeah, all right, let's rip on Destiny. So the world was very, very well built, and it just adds to the overall concept. So, before I fought the first major boss, I would say I think I did 3 mini bosses plus spent maybe maybe 4 or 5 hours exploring before I got there. Now on my second character, I was confident going into the boss and I ran in there a little bit quicker, but it just gives the player that choice. And I think them having the choice and not getting stuck into a linear grind fest was very smart, and makes it more fun for someone that's new too, because you're not just stuck at a boss fight. Say your friend's not online, say you wanted to do co-op but your friend's not online, you wanted to beat this boss with your friend. Hey, just go around and go explore the local area, and then your friend pops on, then you can go do the boss. You're not stuck,
Right.
so
That's huge. And then so like, are you like exploring like a whole area all the way through, and then like you go to the next like gate and that's the boss, or like how does like what's different about this open world from other games?
So the other games, the bosses were kind of the gatekeepers to get into the next area. From Software games are very known to have a lot of hidden, or not hidden, shortcuts. By you killed the boss, now you can hit this lever that drops you down into this area. And it was actually very, very well put together on how they did that. But now, you know, you have a set way that you could and you were supposed to go do the story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for instance, right when you get into the world, you're supposed to go north. Well, say you don't want to do that. Say you want to go east. Go east. You can do that. You're not blocked off by anything. Now, you might be getting your ass kicked because, you know, some enemies are, you know, a little tougher. Now, doesn't mean you can't kill them, but they might just have a little, you know, faster, more advanced move set that you're not used to, because they do progress you pretty good in this game.
Okay.
But you know, that is the biggest difference, is you can choose a direction and just go. You have a horse.
So now they say the boss is north. Is that like they don't give you where the boss is?
No, and
so
that's,
you have to go find the boss.
You have to go find the boss, and you might run into 3 mini bosses on the way to the boss.
Oh, gotcha. So when you're kind of just like exploring the world, and then you'll happen to come across the boss that you were kind of like looking for. You kind of get like a general direction.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go find him. So you're exploring. You go through. You know, you find a mini boss. You find a dungeon, or you find like a secret area. You do that, and then like eventually you'll find the boss, or you might find it too early, and you're like, oh, I'm not ready. But then you can just back out, mark it on the map, and then go level up, and then come back to it.
Yeah, and that's what really adds to the exploration of this game, because I've already discussed the world. The world's amazing. You're exploring out there, and all of a sudden, you know you have a task, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but they're going to say, hey, this dude is here, but that here area is huge, so you have to work your way through it. You know,
right,
and then,
which adds to this kind of the loop of you have to explore everything. You're finding either secret things or finding things you might not be ready for. You're marking them, and then doubling back around like when you're ready for it. And I think that's the whole loop of this open world, and I think why it's pulling me in it's exploring first kind of a game, and then like that's your purpose is to explore these different areas, and then you're gonna find your secret dungeons, your mini bosses, and then your bosses, and it adds. That's why it's open world, is because it keeps this like loop going of you exploring, you're finding all the secrets and finding the bosses, versus, you know, open world games are like, well, the boss is here, and you're like, oh, I could do this side quest, or I could do this, and you feel like you're detracting from the main story, or you're not going through the main story because you're doing all these side quests, where there's really like not that many side quests. You're just exploring the whole area, finding new things, and they would have maybe been considered a side quest, but now it's wrapped into the main story of you just exploring the area, which keeps you focused on the whole progression playthrough, which I think is going to help me, because normally I get so lost in open world games of side quests and side quests and side quests. I don't even remember where the story is.
We've had this discussion, and it happens to me too. Like, you know me, I'm a huge RPG player, but in this game, there's no quest. You know, you get your first initial task and purpose, but then their version of quest is you talking to an NPC who says some like, hey, you know, I heard about this, and by them saying that is like kind of hinting, hey, you know, go check that area out. Maybe that's their version of quest, and which I think is really cool, because if you don't want to, don't do it. You don't get more XP for going and checking that area out. You might run into that area and not even have talked to that NPC, or by, you know, it's just,
and they actually force you to pay attention to the dialogue and the story, where most open world games, you're just clicking next, because you know they're going to give you a side quest, and you just want the marker of the side quest.
Yeah.
Where this way, this is great game design, is they're forcing you to dissect what they're saying, engaging in the story or the side, you know, all the written stuff, and then being able to play it out. Too many people, they're like, oh, the story sucked in this game. Well, did it really suck, or did you just click next through all the dialogue and you didn't even read it? You know, like, you're not engaging with the story content, you're skipping through it. And they're kind of forcing you to do that. Like, well, if you want to do these side quests, or you want to find these things, you're going to have to pay attention here. You can't just blow through all this. like some of the other people I know. And so that's what good game design is forcing you to engage in the content that they have laid out, and it pulls you into their story. The story matters.
The cool thing too, say you're talking to this NPC and you don't like him, so you can kill him.
You can just kill him.
Kill him.
No
Yep.
way.
You can do that. You know, say you meet this guy, and he's a merchant, and you're like, I kind of want his shit. Kill him. You know, so it's
Your prices are too high.
yeah. So the world is just, you know, I've said this before. It's just so lived in, and everything was placed there for a reason. Every piece of lore, every item, every cave, it builds you up to the climax of the area right before you go into the boss fight, and
there's no wasted open world stuff.
Exactly. You get excited for every nook and cranny and that you explore, and you're rewarded by, you know, with items or unique enemies or, you know, XP, which are runes in this game. I think it was necessary for FromSoftware to continue their franchises. You know, they would have came out with something good. I'm not saying they wouldn't. Like Sekiro's amazing. It's not technically open world, but by them turning this into an open world draws people in like you, who have never really had an interest. And you know, with our previous video that we talked about, it being a little more welcoming to newcomers.
Not easy, but
not
more
easy,
welcoming.
but more welcoming. You know, they know what they're doing, and it was 100% a good move in my opinion. So
I agree. From what I watched, they've just created these massive scale worlds that you can just that they don't feel flat and it's a mountain in the background that's just been drawn out with some trees. It's like, everything's 3D rendered. This draw distance is massive, and you feel like, I can just go there.
And you
know,
can.
I see that. I can go there, and that's the beauty of open world. It's just like you see something interesting, I want to go up there, and you can go up there, and you can find interesting things like all over that area, and like that's why you want it. They have to make the exploring appealing, which too many Ubisoft games don't make exploring appealing at all. There's nothing to explore.
Yeah, they just add the you know, with Ubisoft or any other open world games, or even like Far Cry, man, open world is used to make the game longer.
Pad it out.
And it's not, because like Elden Ring, this game is long to begin with, and you don't even need to explore. Man, I played on one character, I played like 20 or 25 hours and only did one boss, and I was just running around, you know.
That's crazy.
But then I
didn't even spend 20 hours in the like Destiny Legendary campaign, and it's not something that you can just blow right through.
Yeah, I mean, and now, you know, my second build I'm doing, I decided I run into the boss a little quicker, you know, and maybe I only spend 4 hours. You can do what you want.
Right.
So
yeah, well, and that's what's really cool from what I've gathered about this is, like, once you've learned the area, you can just kind of beeline your route of plan it out of like how you want to get through different encounters or get to the end, because you already have explored it. You already have this knowledge.
You know what item you want to go pick up. You know what enemies you want to go fight, and you can really start building your playthroughs. Which
for a new person, how would you recommend them playing? Should I just like, if I want to build like a wizard, should I go look up like items for wizards or a spellcaster on YouTube, go there and get those, and then like I've already got my build and kind of play it as a new player? Or should I, you know, go in more blind, and then only after I'm kind of like stuck or a little bit, or I need this one thing, then maybe supplement that with some YouTube research of direction of where to go and what to find?
So what I'd recommend, and this is how I play every game, especially this one, I went into this completely blind. You know, you don't need to go into it completely blind, but I only watched the teaser trailer from a few years ago, and then one more trailer, and then I just went blackout because people were trying to, you know, spoil. What I would recommend to do, play 10, 15, 20 hours of the game, and figure out what type of weapons you've come across, what type of spells you've come across, and you might look at a weapon and be like, dude, that's cool. And then your next playthrough, or not, when I say playthrough, I mean just a re-roll of your character, a rebuild. Because you might really enjoy your character you're on, but say you're like, I really want to be a strength-based barbarian who just crushes his enemies. Oh, I just found a two-handed, claymore. Once you start finding these items in the game and you figure out what you want to do, then you should go, start looking up builds and figuring out what items are the best. But there is no better feeling than figuring something out on your own in this game by exploring. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Just running across an insane item, and then your wheels start to turn a little bit. You're like, okay, oh, maybe I could build this way. Oh, you know what? I might look up a video to see how someone else built it, and then take from the video and what you want to do, because you don't just want to follow a build. And, I mean, in my opinion, you don't want to just follow a build. Some people do like that, but I like having a little creativity when it comes to these games, you know what I mean? Like living an aspect of it, but some people don't.
I think that's a really good kind of middle ground, because it can, the game is punishing and difficult, and so I may want to do like a spell casting build because it is more welcoming, maybe, not easy, but easier, or easy, like it puts you in a better position to build some of these things. And my initial thought might just be to, all right, look up spell casting build, where are these items, I'm gonna go find them, and then play my playthrough there. But I might actually realize that I like two-handed swords, or I like the samurai build, or I like some of these other things. And so playing through a good chunk of it with experiencing just all the things you can pick up and go through and find your style. And then as it kind of gets more challenging, then really focus in and figure out how to make that portion of it easier, I think is a really good way, especially for newcomers, to approach it, that haven't played any FromSoftware games, to really still enjoy the game and the story and the exploration, but also to make it a little bit more welcoming and easier, so you're not just get stuck in a boss, or you hating your life, pounding your your head against the wall, kind of a deal.
Right. Yeah, you should never let yourself get to that in this game. The other previous games, yes, that happens. This, you can go out, you can summon. It's open world for a reason. They did a really, really good job on it.
Oh, it's getting me interested, maybe.
But let's leave it at that. So, what do you got to tell the viewers?
Well, I think I'm going to tell them that I think I'm picking up Elden Ring because it sounds like an awesome open world experience. And then I'm telling them, stay nerdy.